Very good morning and welcome to Kusile Breakfast Show. Is the 17th of December 2025. Selangana nje ukuthi singene emaholideni akhisimusi. Sesama kuseniphelile omhla ekseni. My name is Lungelele Makakula kashisa ke lamuhla. My temperatures vele this week athembisa kushisa. Mngoni, how are you this morning?
Yathi lo sangikhohlela ukuthi ding 17. But nje nasawusho ukuthi yathi it's just 2 days before my birthday. So I'm excited for that, but also excited to be here on the show this morning. A very good morning indeed. Thank you for choosing us. Lomuhla ekseni September utsi luhlelo utawulutfokotela libito lami ngosifiso lishumi inakubili mali lomhla ekseni sitaw xoxisana nempane Nkosi Mshishimba, Principal Secretary walapha etiko laka ICT. Sifuna nje kubuka litiko laka ICT imisebenzi leliyendile ku parliamente yelishumi inakubili selo licale kusebenza imisebenzi yalo ikakhulu kuthuthukisa impilo temaswati with the different innovations bete now la fayakhathi for government in your hand and the other programs particularly lawo la sita kuthuthukisa emaswati kuwapha information kutemfundo. There's a space program, there's a couple of other programs coding now lendiwe litiko laka ICT lesifuna nje kuwabukisisa lamuhla. We are tracking progress nangabe wabanenhlanhla wa tertiary mawunikwe assignment nasayoyihlola kuthishela ukuthi thishela ngawo progress check ake ngasubmit sitawubuka nje ukuthi ngabe kusahamba kahle yini njoba napho siyathi ukuthi bana 5 years labantu amsebenza ehhovisi siya progress check ake sithi into temsakato ukuthi ngabe vele letothe thembiso lena siniketa tona singemaswati nisahamba kuto yinvele nokuthi lala kusele khona kubangelwa yini kutawulunga nini sitawuxoxisana na IPS lomhla ekseni nasikusele kancane nje ukuthi kugabanqa insimbi yesikhombisa hlala nathi.
Hlala thembukele siphinde singene ke toni indzaba ngaphandle kwakuleli siphinde sibuke netasekhaya. Kepha ke kumanje asibuke emaphephandaba lomhla ekseni. All right, starting with the Times of Eswatini, leading stories this Wednesday. Salary review test case. Prosecutors run to court over pay cuts, file urgent application against illegal demotion, and they want 17% downgrade declared unlawful and set aside. And another story, pothole causes nasty head-on collision. Another story is making headlines. Alfios has been told to report to work, and EPTC Tech has been fired over 1.7 million Malangeni cards theft.
We move over and we look at the Times of Eswatini's back end. And here we see Wesleyans thrown into Lion's Den. That is the face high-flying Singizini, Real Leopard and Ezulwini Buffaloes that are playing next, and Malawi Pawn Club legend Kina Piri ready to assist strugglers. The last story, 600,000 Malangeni for Lubombo Marathon.
And moving on to the Eswatini Observer, leading stories this Thursday. Quantum truck head-on collision. Toyota Quantum and a horse and trailer truck were involved in a head-on collision at Hamburg along Helehele Nguluni Road yesterday. In other stories, government Alfia salary talks collapse. There has been no agreement reached despite last week's settlement assurances. And in other stories, update on FMD. Government is to establish 7 more checkpoints.
Well, former coach blames it on management as he says legends know the cure. Kina Piri urges wanderers to consult former greats before it is too late. He says he's also available to assist anytime that they contact him. In other stories, EFA confirms January transfer window date, while Ernest calls for redemption ahead of Bucks Showdown. And there is a kick push skate, a success in the largest skateboarding competition called Kick Push Skate, delivered high energy action this past weekend.
And lastly, the Eswatini Daily News leading story, 1.66 billion Malangeni in government coffers to ease cash flow constraints. And on another one, police destroy 4 hectares of Dacha fields as festive season operations intensify. And on another one, domestic tourism boosts Eswatini towards 2 million target, and a government investment delivers 303 million Malangeni for jobs and enterprise.
Kina Piri says this about Manzini Wanderers. He says, management has been Wanderers' downfall. That is the former Wanderers player coach, Electric Man Piri. As he says, the committee has failed over the years to come up with a strategy to sustain the team. And then it's over 100,000 Malangeni for the 2026 Ubombo Marathon. From the international front, Amram 6 clinical Man United after the Bournemouth clash.
And that's it for our newspaper headlines. We go for an ad break. Spend in Sabah, Eswatini.
Eswatini TV has signed a code of conduct that is enforced by the Eswatini Communications Commission. We are committed to reporting news that is accurate, comment that is fair, and programming that does not amount to hate speech or the description of gratuitous violence or explicit sex. For any complaints of our programming, please contact us on 2411-9600 or email info@eswatinitv.co.sz. You can also contact the Eswatini Communications Commission on 2406-7000 or write a letter to ECCOM on PO Box 7811 Mbabane. Email address is info@ecom.org.sz.
Asiphenze sinimukele nadi tindzaba. Kuqinisekisa ukuthi isifo semlomo namasondvo asanzi kulamaholide litiko letekulima selivule ukuthi bafuyi bahlabe bathengiselane tinkhomo netingulube kuletindzawo lapho lesifo sibhedvuke khona. Lokho kuvetwe indvuna yelitiko letekulima umhlonishwa Amandla Chauka lonxuse wacela eMaswati ukuthi abambise uhulumende kuqinisekisa ukuthi live liyasincoba lesifo.
Live laseSwatini libone ukubhedvuka kwesifo semlomo nemasondvo ngenyanga yeNkhwekhweti kulomnyaka edibhini lasesikhwebeze eshiselweni lokuboneke uhulumende welive laseSwatini asukumela etulu kwetama kusigwema kepha sibese senabela nakuletinye tifundza. Indvuna yetiko letekulima umhlonishwa Amandla Chauka uthi kuqinisekisa ukuthi kulamaholide akhisimusi lesifo asanzi lelitiko selivule ukuthi eMaswati athengiselane inyama yenkhomo neyengulube lapho lesifo sibhedvuke khona.
Sesifake uhlelo lolusha leluthi tinkomo noma ngabe tikule zone lebofu noma ke la kunalesifo khona netingulube atithengiswe tihlatshwe kuleyo ndzawo tingaphumi kodwa tece kumbe etsuke endzaweni lengcolile nawusho njalo tiyendzaweni lehlobile. So lama checkpoints aloko lusho ukuthi ke nasifuna ukuthi sikhone ukuthi siphile sitawuthengisela ngatinkomo ngoba phela nako sokutawuvulwa netikolo udzinga ukuthi abantu bathengise lokho lokukhona baze bakhona ukubuyisela abantwana etikolweni. But tinkomo sesiyakutshengisa kulawo ma-areas kodwa within that area tingaphumi. Bese-ke tiyehlatshwa futhi athengiselwa nje ukuthi tiyofuywa tendweni sizathengiswe nokuthi tiyohlatshwa. Kwesithathu bese tihlatshelwa endzaweni letsite lesithi ngama-abattoirs. Ungahlatshwa nje noma nganguphi. Lokho kwentelwa ukuthi le nkomo naseyihlatshiwe lapha bese iyaphonjiswa ipopolwe nokuthi imenjani.
Umcwaningi wetifo tetilwane Mfanzile Ginenza uthi sive siyetama kubabambisa kepha sive sisadzinga kufundziswa ngalobungoti balesifo.
Sithi inyama lenhlata yetinkomo, timbuti, tingulube ayendluli. Kude bulukhulu ongakanani baba bancane nje laba banenkinga otherwise abakwati labadzala especially bakwati.
Umbiko welitiko letekulima uthi tinkomo letijove omabili smartphone semjovo kwelapha lesifo evikini leliphelile tingu-93,392 live laseSwatini lona lasebenzisa imijovo lengu-254,000. Lobikako nguSamkelisiwe Khozana phathiswe Msibi eMbadlane.
Ematiko latsinsekako etindzabeni tekukhicita kudla nekuvikelwa kwemvelo afaka imivo yawo mayelana nalapho kufanele kwesekelwe khona tinhlelo tekutfutfukisa live ngekusitwa yinhlangano yakamhlaba yetekudla. Mabhalane lomkhulu etiko letekulima Sydney Simelane uthi le mivo kufanele ihambisane nemigomo yahulumende kanye netinhlelo lesetivele tikhona tekuthi live likhululeke kutekudla i-food sovereignty. Simelane bekakhuluma ngesikhathi yavula ngalokusemthethweni lomhlangano sikolwa walabatsinsekako kamanzini.
Ematiko latsinsekako ahlanganise tinhlelo letingasekelwa ngulenhlangano yakamhlaba yetekudla ngekuhambisana nemigomo yayo kanye nekuhambisana nentfutfuko lekhonsako. Mabhalane lomkhulu etiko letekulima Sydney Simelane uthi-ke imivo letawufakwa kufanele kube imivo lehambisana ngco nemigomo wentfutfuko yelive.
Le document naseyiphumile ekugcineni akube ngithi lesifake tintfo lesitidzingako ukuthi asibambise kuto FAO. Singakhohlwa-ke nekuthi tikhona letinye tinhlelo tahulumende lesetivele tikhona letikhomba umsebenzi wakhe uhulumende. Kumcoka-ke lokuthi sikwakhe ngendlela yokuthi kutawuhambisana kube bete lapha sekushayisana khona kuphikisa khona.
Howard Mbuyisa lomelele inhlangano yakamhlaba yetekudla uthi le nhlangano yesekele tinhlelo letimbalwa lebetihlelwe emgomeni wekusita live lakangwane.
Bonile-ke kule mgomo lesisuka kuwo kulolu hlaka lesisuka kulo ukuthi sibambisene kakhulu nahulumende. Sikhuluma nje kune-National Agriculture Investment Plan lekhona. Kube kubambisana na-FAO lapho kuze kuthi si-align nabo CADIP. Siphindze si-align nemigomo yelive kwakhe amathuba emisebenzi. Kuna Eswatini Agriculture Development Fund nakhona sabambisana kakhulu na-FAO. Kungmanje uyasebenta uyakhona kusupporta emabhizinisi aka-agriculture. Kunabo fisheries policy lesabambisana kibo before litiko leyakhona kusebenta ngako manje. Kunemsebenzi lemkhulu ke lesiwendako futhi kubambisa i-youth ema-youth groups sina 11 shade nets and tunnels lesesiwakhile nyalo 7 wawo asaya operator kulinyiwe nje kuyavunwa kuyathengiswa.
Le nhlangano yakamhlaba yetekudla isekela leSwatini nje kunebudlelwano lobucinile lobuze benta ukuthi kusayinwe isivumelwano sokuthi emahhovisi ayo abe lapha evenda kangwane. Kubika Sonto Mlangeni kamanzini.
Ayanza emacala ekushushumbiswa kwebantfu kusebenziswa emakhasi abongcondvomshini. Lokhu kuvetwe ngilobukela uhlangothi lolubuketa indzaba tekushushumbiswa kwebantfu nempumelelo likhele lotsi lonyaka asiphohlongo emacala ekushushumbiswa kwebantfu labekwe kuleli bandla lasetinkantolo.
Emaveli vekati le-Afrika abhekene nekukhula kwemacala ekushushumbiswa nekufohliswa kwebantfu. Leli vele eNingizimu Afrika ngalesine evikini leliphelile limise bantfu belive leTopiya laba-14 nalabo baseveni leBangladesh laba-16 esikhumulweni setindiza i-OR Tambo International Airport ngetinsolo tekushushumbiswa. Lapha eveni ke lobukela uhlangothi lelibuketona tindzaba tekushushumbiswa kwebantfu nompumelelo likhele uthi ayanza emacala ekushushumbiswa kwebantfu kusebenziswa emakhasi abongcondvomshini.
Ngaleti khathi leti-ke nakhona uyuthole lokho ukuthi asinaki kakhulu sive kokuthi lana sekunemathabelangoti phela mhlawumbe nje sijajuliswa kokuthi ngithenga umshini lomusha ngithenga icingo lolusha umuntu angabasabuka lokuthi mhlawumbe loyo mntwana lo mthengele leso sipho selicingo sipho sengcondvomshini wendani imbambambamba khona kulomnyaka lona nje sibonile lokho ukuthi tiyakhula tinombolo tekushushumbiswa kwebantu kusetshenziswa kona emakhasi abongcondvomshini lele sithi phecelezi online exploitation. Lothola lokho ukuthi kwasabonela abantwana nabangene kulamakhasi abongcondvomshini bafundziswa tintfo letingasito, tintfo letihlobile, tintfo letibanukubeta ngekwemtimba, tintfo lotfola lokho ukuthi sebagcilateka ngetelicasi kubo bona labongcondvomshini, bathathiswe kumbe leto titfombe, bathathiswe leyo mifanekiso letsite, lotfola ukuthi seyawusetjentiswa ngetindlela letibanukubetako nangetindlela letingekho emtsetfweni. Emacala nje lesiwabonile lo nyaka athakete la emacaleni lasiphohlongo lekaphenyiwe latsinza tona tindzaba tekushushumbiswa kwebantfu. Mane-ke lokubuhlungwana sisebuke kona lokho ukuthi agcine lawo macala aphethekile etinkantolo.
Mhlabhlangene-ke uthi la macala ekushushumbiswa nekufohliswa kwebantfu abita kutsi la mave ngekwakhelana kwawo abambisane, kanti lolu hlangothi lalapha evene netinhlangothi letahlukene takamhlabhlangene nalabaphathelene nekuphuma nekungena kwebantfu kuleli lisebenta kona kucinisa tinhlelo tekunciphisa kushushumbiswa kwebantfu lapha evene laseswatini. Lobikako nguSamkelisiwe Khoza eMbabane.
Emacala ekwebiwa kwetintsambo telitfusi akhule nga-12.3% lonyaka uma aqhathaniswa neminyaka lophelile, kanti inkampani yagesi yona ilahlekelwe ngu-2.3 million emalangeni lonyaka ngenxa yekwebiwa kwetintsambo telitfusi. Loku kucuketfwe ngumbiko wembutho wembube nesive kanye nenkampani yagesi ye-Eswatini Electricity Company.
Kwebuya kwetintsambo telitfusi ngekusho kwahulumende wakuleli kubuyisela emuva tinhlangothi letahlukene tentfutfuko yelive sukela kutekuchumana kuyofika ekutfoleni gesi. Umphathi wemaphoyisa Vusman noma Masange evikini leliphelile emhlanganweni wemaphoyisa lasetigabeni letisetulu ngekusebenta lapho lo mbutho bobuka khona ukuthi umnyaka uhambe njani, waveta ukuthi emacala kwebuya kwetintsambo telitfusi achubeka nekwanza kuleli nanoma emaphoyisa abambisene netinhlangothi etifake ekhatsi inkampani yemagesi kuleli neyemaposi netincingo baqinisa tona tinhlelo tekuvikela kona kwebuya kwetintsambo telitfusi. Uthi-ke la macala akhulwe nga-12.3% lonyaka njengoba asuke ku-1,398 eminyakeni lophelile aya ku-1,570 lonyaka. Umbeki wenkampani yemagesi ye-Eswatini Electricity Company uthi nemali lelahlekela le nkampani ngokubuya kwetintsambo telitfusi nayo iyakhula njengoba eminyakeni lophelile le nkampani ilahlekelwe imali lengu-1.9 million emalangeni, lelo nyaka ikhule yaba ngu-2.3 million emalangeni. Uchubeke nokucinisa tinhlelo tekuvikela kwebuya kwato tintsambo telitfusi litiko letekwatisa letfule endlini yaba esikhulu umtsetfo lesakhankanyo we-Critical Infrastructure Protection Bill lohlose kuvikela takhiwe nemphahla yelive lemcoka lesithi lesinye isicephu salo mtsetfo uma sewuphasile labafunakele ukuthi bebe tintsambo telitfusi bangahlawuliswa imali lengu-5 million emalangeni. Iphalamende-ke uthokotele lo mtsetfo njengoba live liyalimala ngalokwebiwa kwato tintsambo telitfusi. Lobikako nguSamkelisiwe Khoza eMbabane.
Temidlalo indvuna yetemidlalo umhlonishwa Bongani Nzima ithi umdlalo wamatubane welibanga welubombo marathon uyasita ukuthi kungakhanzakali ukuthi yonke lemidlalo idlalwa emadolobheni lamakhulu kuphela kepha idlalwa live lonke. Indvuna lebeyimelelwe ngumcondzisi wetemidlalo etiko letemidlalo beyikhuluma nayisukumisa lomdlalo walonyaka welubombo marathon eSimunye.
Umdlalo wobombo marathon lolungisela iqembu le-TZD Sports ukhomba kukhula njalo ngeminyaka. Lokho kubonakala ukuthi netinkampani tiyachubeka nekusekela lo mdlalo. Umdlalo lomusha uzophinda wasukunyiswa lapho kuvele khona ukuthi imali etawusetshenziswa kulungiselela lemidlalo itawufika ku-600,000 emalangeni. Kanti-ke tinombolo labatigadzile bagadze tinombolo letingatulu kwa-2,000 webantfu. Indvuna yetemidlalo lebeyimelelwe ngumcondzisi wetemidlalo etiko letemidlalo lakhe isihlongonyana ithi lo mdlalo-ke welibombo marathon ukhulumisa indzaba yokuthi temidlalo tidlalo live lonke ikakhulu umdlalo lofana naloyo matubane.
Lubombo marathon lupromota i-healthy living ulomncane ulomdzala ne-tourism. Therefore siya-encourage nalamanye ama-regions lokuthi akabe nawo umdlalo lonjengalo loqalwe lolubombo lo-TZD marathon.
Kanti mengameli wenhlangano yemidlalo yematubane lophindze abe ngumengameli welicembu le-TZD Sports lokungilo lelidlalisa lo mdlalo ube kanjena-ke nasekachaza ngayo lo mdlalo.
Nasiyicala-ke sasibota into etiningi one nje kubuka ukuthi la elibonjeni lapho si-based khona with branches in other regions but la si-based khona elibonjeni bekude i-marathon so sase si-initiate-ayo ukuthi benale marathon and si-happy-ke lokho ukuthi iyakhula nasibuketa nje from the day sicala nekusho ukuthi-ke siyathi phela ukuthi ema-sports nje anechaza elikhulu lalidlalako ku-society ayadelapha tifo ayativikela tifo aphindze ahlanganise bantu.
Letinye tikhulumi tifaka ekhatsi inhlangano lengamele tinhlangano tetemidlalo kuleli, umphathi welidolobha laseStegi kanye-ke netinkampani letisekela lo mdlalo ngetimali. Bonke-ke labagcizelele ngebumcoka bekusekela lo mdlalo letithi utsintsa live lonke. Lo mdlalo utodlalwa-ke mhla til-11 enyangeni yaMabasa khona edolobheni laseStegi. Lobikela umsakazo we-Eswatini TV kutemidlalo ngiphathiswe Msibi, Esimunye.
Libuye nemendlela yelithusi likhethelo lemidlalo we-netball yebesilisa lebelingene lemidlalo ye-Africa Netball League lebedlalelwa eMalawi. Lisekela lamengameli walenhlangano uphilile lokothwako lithi bahambe kahle kanti kuningi nalabakufundzile.
Selikhethelo lakuleli liyeke lemidlalo amathemba setulu ukuthi batodlala kangcono kunasemnyakeni lophelile lapho bafika kumancama lemidlalo. Kule midlalo-ke bakhanze ukuthi lizinga selinyukile kepha-ke bakhonile kudlala kahle badlala ngetimisela lapho bancobe yonke imidlalo yabo kuma-group stages baze bafika kuma-semi-finals lapho bakhale phansi khona. Lelikhethelo ligcineke kwephasi elithola yona imendlela yelithusi nabafika-ke eveni sebabuya kuyo le midlalo. Isekela lomengameli walenhlangano libekahamba-ke nalelikhethelo uyachaza ukuthi bahambe kanjani kule midlalo.
Esikhathini esiningi uye uthi ngoba lo mnyaka ophelile nje sabuya nesilver sithena sibuyela mhlambe sigathe ukuthi mhlambe sitawonda ngcono sakhanza ukuthi emateam bese alungiselele mhlambe ngoba adi ukuthi thina sawahlula kulo mnyaka ophelile vele bese kabuke thine so that is one of them nje kuyiZimbabwe so sifundzile lokuthi kudingala ukuthi silungiselele kahle and singabi nalokuthi ngoba kulo mnyaka ophelile mhlambe performe wafika lana utawenda ngcono noma utawuqhubeka lapho kufuna ukuthi uphinde ufake amandla kakhulu nasawubuyela kulo mnyaka lolandzelako so sing team Eswatini maize national team sidimisela ukuthi nasibuyela sifake kakhulu emandla so that istokhona ukuthi siperforme ngcono singahlali la besikhona khona noma bese siyehla ezikwendekile kulesikhathi.
Umcecesho walelikhethelo Fumbu Bukhosi indlangamandla kanye nakapteni walelikhethelo Fortune Nebs nabo-ke bachazile ukuthi ihambe kanjani imidlalo nekuthi yini labayifundzile.
Kunendlela engikufundzile nami lokuba khona le kwangikhulisa and-ke imidlalo nawubuya emidlalweni imidlalo ihambe kahle kakhulu noma kukhona la siluze khona but nje kunengi i-team lekutholile and lokunye lengikubonile ngoba ngangawabukela lama-video lama-team lawa besodlala nawo inkumbi yawo alungise kakhulu kan previous nakuyodlalwa beka lama-team bengajengisi emandla langanani but nyalo kancane bekadlala ema-series boZimbabwe nje bakutshela ukuthi badlale ema-series dlala kubo-5 badlale nelivesi eKenya sebadlale ne-South Africa sebadlale neBotswana badlale neSwaziland.
Sifundzela okuningi kakhulu eMalawi siyi-team ama-teams lakhona this was an international competition kwatise ukuthi ama-teams ajimile competition bengasile lula but sidlalile sabuya nayo imedali lokusithokothisa kakhulu.
Lelikhethelo nyalo-ke selibuka imidlalo yekuhlungela indzebe yemhlaba. Le midlalo yekuhlungela itodlala eveni laseKenya enyakeni wa-2026. Lobikela umsakazo we-Eswatini TV kutemidlalo ngiphathiswe Msibi, eMbabane.
Ngaleto temidlalo sitibeka lapho tindzaba tetfu tesiswati 24 minutes after 7 sasakhefu nasibuya sikhulumisana na PS ka ICT.
Eswatini TV has signed a code of conduct that is enforced by the Eswatini Communications Commission. We are committed to reporting news that is accurate, comment that is fair, and programming that does not amount to hate speech or the description of gratuitous violence or explicit sex. For any complaints of our programming, please contact us on 2411-9600 or email info@eswatinitv.co.za. You can also contact the Eswatini Communications Commission on 2406-7000 or write a letter to ECCOM on PO Box 7811 Mbabane. Email address is info@ecom.org.sz.
Right, welcome back to the program. The Ministry of ICT has been at the center of Eswatini's digital transformation agenda over the past 2 years. They have been translating policy direction into systems, into platforms as well as services that citizens interact with daily. From the rollout of government in your hand to national digital skills programs to efforts that are aimed at modernizing broadcasting and strengthening infrastructure, the work of the ministry is increasingly visible and increasingly consequential. But as with any other transformation of this scale, progress has come with pressure points, system reliability, infrastructure gaps, institutional capacity, as well as the challenge of turning ambition into consistent delivery. This morning, instead of a policy conversation, we want to focus on implementation as well as execution. We are joined by the Principal Secretary in the Ministry of ICT, Prince Mshishimba Dlamini. Good morning, Ngosi. Welcome to the program. Very good morning indeed. Perhaps let's start at looking at system reliability and recent disruptions because, we want to focus on execution. In recent weeks, citizens experienced what, for lack of a better term, we can call intermittent disruptions across several government digital services. From an administrative and technical standpoint, what can you say caused those disruptions and what immediate corrective actions were then taken and what system level really are now being implemented in terms of fixes to prevent a recurrence of this sort?
Good morning, Mnguni, and good morning to Emaswati. Yes, it's true that the past few weeks have been we've been experiencing intermittent service disruptions, and they've gone on for a bit of some time now. However, the ministry is working very hard together with its partners, with EPTC, EPTC and RSTP to resolve these. And the ministry has also set up a team, a technical team, that will get into the depths of what the problem really is, which is a multi-stakeholder, and has brought together all the different.
Well, it's unfortunate that our guest, the Principal Secretary, is experiencing some network challenges on their end, but he is responding to, some of the intermittent disruptions that we have seen on their end and some of the developments that they have had for progressing us as Emaswati. Nkosi, you are back. Prince Mshishimba Dlamini is the Principal Secretary of the Ministry of ICT, and he was responding to our first question, which was focused on system reliability as well as the recent disruptions. And of course, you were just asserting that you have set up a task team as the ministry that will particularly look at remedying these disruptions.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I wasn't aware that the connection had lost. Yes, the team is working very hard at trying to get to the root of the problem. Yes, when the problem started, the disruptions lasted for quite a long time. Each time there was an outage. but the team at RSTP was able to mitigate that and try to lessen the time of outage. However, we are working at finding the real root cause of the whole problem so that we solve it once and for all. Therefore, the ministry set up this task team that will look into not only just the technical issues that took place or that caused the problem, but we'll look at the systemic operations of RSTP itself, downstream and upstream, and the policy setup within the operational setup of the data center at RSTP, so that we don't experience such in the future. So, and I must say to you, Nguni, that we are very close to resolving this issue once and for all, because even the suppliers of the equipment itself, the network equipment that we're using, are also involved in finding the solution to this. So everybody is on board to make sure that we restore services to full operational, and going forward, we make sure that we never experience such again.
Yeah. Well, thank you for that update, and for being honest around the fact that indeed the disruptions were there. But I think what we then appreciate the most is that the steps that are being taken to make sure that the problems that persist are fixed. The story around government in your hand is one of course, the ministry's most visible delivery platforms. Services have been onboarded, and uptake has been strong. The conversation around that is, if we continue to look at government in your hand, I may start by wanting to offer a brief testimonial myself, because I remember when it was rolled out, we were all excited about the services that are on there. I myself, decided to try and experiment and use it myself. And I must say that I renewed my license disc via the app. And I do have a friend that has been able to register a company via the app. And I think that is good testimonies coming from the people with which the app was intended for. But from your seat as the PS, which services are now fully operational on the platform, as well as what usage trends are you seeing with the platform?
Yes, the platform, for those that have downloaded it has become quite a useful tool. Services that already available right now, yes, it is what you've just said, the car disc or car license renewals, where you are able to do the renewal of your license disc, pay for it online, and be able to collect it from nearby, where you choose yourself whether you want to collect it from the nearest post office or you want to collect it from the nearest revenue office. Which has really come in handy for a lot of Eswatini. There's a host of other services, though at the moment they are still limited in terms of the delivery aspect. But otherwise, in terms of, like, you apply for a passport, you apply for an ID card, you apply online, you fill up the forms online, and you are able to check actually the progress of your application online, so that you don't keep going to Home Affairs to find out what has happened or what is happening. And yes, unfortunately, on that one, the collection is still at you still have to go to a Home Affairs office to be able to collect. But otherwise, in terms of tracking the progress thereof, you can do it through the Government in Your Hand app. You are able to apply for scholarship. You download, you go to the website, or rather the application links you to the scholarship application forms website, so that you can fill in the form, and then download it to sign, and then send it back through the system itself, which again is a great relief to many people. You can also choose and reserve company names from the Ministry of Commerce. And going forward to 2026, we are looking forward to onboarding some more government services to make things easier for Emaswati getting government services.
Certainly looking forward to seeing more, services being onboarded on the app. And, it's quite an interesting app indeed, and one that is very, timely and necessary. And, again, just last week, my co-host here, Lungalele, was just playing around with it out of the blue, and she says, oh, look, my vehicle is indeed still registered under my name, and my license disc has been renewed. It's not expired. So, it's quite beautiful to see people really experience it and enjoy the convenience that it brings. But, I've just been following some of the conversations around it and some of, the pronouncements by the ministry around developing this app, because it is critical. You mentioned a lot of services that are onboarded there. And one key one, as on the topic of course, intermittent disruptions, is the conversation around a mainframe. And I'm sure you are more well versed to teach us what that is and why it is important that that be upgraded, for the convenience and for this app to be as good as we want it to be. What is a mainframe, and why is it a challenge right now?
The mainframe is actually a platform that we use for delivery of services. We've been using it for quite some time in government, and it has proved to be reliable over the years. It's only unfortunate that this time around it has come to a point where, there's been these severe disruptions. However, like I said, we're working around the clock to make sure it is fixed. You will know that every device or every machinery at some point does get to breakdown or disruptions or interruptions here and there. This one is a software platform. So it does have its own accidents or its own problems whereby it develops faults and it has to be fixed here and there. So it's only that this one was a bit severe. That is why it has taken us so long to try to put it together to make sure it is fixed. Otherwise, it is a platform for service delivery. And I must say that at RSTP, it's not the only platform that we're using to deliver government services. It's just that this one at the moment is the main one. There are other platforms that we're using, and will grow to diversify as RSTP grows. To make sure that there is multiplicity of service offering to the public, so that not just one, when one breaks down and then everything goes down. So we'll be able to have redundancy here and there, so that really such incidents are minimized.
Yeah, and I'm just wondering how much financial capacity that will require from the ministry. It sounds like it's not something that is going to be cheap, but exciting nonetheless, knowing that it's something that is being fixed. Let's get into digital skills, because a key pillar of the ministry's work has been digital skills, particularly coding and ICT literacy. What programs are currently being implemented under the ministry, and how are participants selected? What early indicators do you have that these skills are translating into employability or enterprise creation?
Skills development is very, very important in any area of development, but particularly so in the ICT space. We, as the ministry, are very much concerned about skills development in the country. As you can see from our policy documents, from way back 2006, when the first policy, NICE policy, was developed in the country, It emphasized, or it had, skills development and human capacity development as one of the key pillars for the ICT development in the country, such that schools and tertiary institutions have actually come on board to make sure that the skills of the nation are geared towards the development of these new technologies. So the ministry, to aid in that direction, has recently partnered with partners around the world that could help bring in handy platforms and programs that will be not costly to Emaswati, like the Udacity coding program that we have right now going on in the country. It is free to everyone. The only thing you need to do is just to log on to, or to get into the website and register and start the classes. It's a program that teaches the basics or the fundamentals of coding. At the moment, we've got 4 key subjects that are being taught there. There is AI fundamentals, that is artificial intelligence fundamental skills. There is also the there is also programming basics. There is also data science basics, which is data analytics, and yeah, lest I forget the 4th one. But there's 4 of them there. You just get into you just log onto the website, https // Eswatini code. No, it's coders eswatini.gov.nz. Eswatini coders.gov.nz. If you forget to, or how to write down the whole URL, you just go to Google and put in coders Eswatini. Then it will give you the links to the website. It's very, very simple. Anyone can join there and start the classes. It's free of charge. It's supposed to be a 7-week self-paced training that the ministry has made available through our partners. There's one university in the United Arab Emirates that has partnered with us on this course. It's called Udacity.
Yeah, that's incredible indeed. And, on the topic of coding and digital skills, and as you say, a very important foundation for youth empowerment as well as job creation, I do want to pivot a little bit and get into space and science, because we do know that is another exciting venture that the ministry is getting into for the youth of Eswatini. And perhaps here, let's talk about the programs that the ministry has introduced in that regard.
Yes, Mguni. As you know, that the ministry is quite loaded in terms of responsibilities. It is also responsible for research and science. And therefore, science, as you know, it is very wide. And then there's also communication. So we have this whole industry called space industry, which covers quite a vast number of programs itself. There's communications, there's space studies, there's Earth observations, there's environmental observations, a host of services there. So the ministry, again, is partnering with international organizations to try to, for us to put our foot in the door in the area of space science. we are in the process of establishing our own space academy in the country. We have partnered with Shaktisat, which is an Indian program that they have graciously agreed to allow us to work with them. I'm sorry.
Okay, that is Principal Secretary Prince Mshishimba from the ICT Ministry is just briefing us on why it is quite important for the ministry to put their foot in space and science. He's explaining some of, the opportunities that comes with space and science. And, as you continue to explain it, PS, I'm reminded that when we look at, I believe he's now regarded as the richest person in the world, Elon Musk, in America, his biggest interest is space. And he says that is where the future is headed to. And, I believe as you continue to expound on why the Ministry of ICT in Eswatini has also vested a lot of interest in that, we do want to get into why are we so interested in space and science, the opportunities that come with it in the near future and otherwise.
Yes, space is interesting. Space is very interesting, Mgone. If you want to study weather patterns or climatic patterns, you are better placed if you do it from high up there in space, where you'll be able to look at the global environments and the global happenings. So yes, that is the area to be able to study this from. When you look at communications, be it telecommunications, be it broadcasting, with satellite broadcasting or telecommunications, you find that one beam is able to cover a wide area, as opposed to terrestrial infrastructure, which is only pointed to and able to cover very limited spaces in terms of area coverage. So it is an area that is quite useful for humanity. Again, you find that in some areas you experience disasters. Disasters are very rare in space. So if maybe you experience an earthquake, your digital, your terrestrial infrastructure will get destroyed or disrupted severely. But if you have this space option, then you're still able to get connected for, everywhere, just using one beam. So yes, space is very much useful for us. It's only that it's expensive to get started in there. But otherwise, in terms of service disruptions, should disaster happen, you are safe in space. So it is an area that the government is also looking to develop into. And it's a whole industry, Ngone. Like we said, we are partnering with this Shaktisat Indian organization to help us get our foot in there and develop. Yes, we'll grow gradually. It's not a boom thing, but we'll grow gradually and eventually get to a point where we would say, yes, the country is now well capacitated and able to participate in the space industry.
And of course, exciting indeed, given that, it's been said many times that space technologies are quite critical and central for who controls data. So the conversation around data sovereignty as well as national security, because you will remember when we had that Google partnership, there were some people, and I want to say skeptical audience around, our data protection in Eswatini and, all the topics around that. So quite critical, that space conversation. But looking at the digital creative economy now that is expanding, and it is expanding rapidly, monetization remains a challenge. Let's talk about that. From an implementation perspective, what are some of the concrete support structures that are in place, whether training, partnerships, or platforms really that could help our content creators earn from their work? And how is uptake being tracked? Because they're doing a great job. When you look on social media, they're doing really, really amazing content.
Yes, that's a very tricky one, Ngone. However, I must state that it is two-way. There is monetization of digital content locally, and then there's also the international players, which is where the biggest market is really. Unfortunately, on the international platforms, we're still working with them to try to help Emaswati to be able to get something back from their digital content that they post on these platforms. Yeah, so far I can say talks are in progress to make sure that if you've got a Google, I mean, if you've got a YouTube channel, that you should be able to get some compensation for it. Yeah, we're still working on that one. However, locally, the laws are in place right now. You've got your intellectual property law, which is administered by the Ministry of Commerce. That one is operational, and yes, the ESWACOs are working on monetizing the citizens' content. Yes, it is something we're still working on.
A very important conversation around the budget execution and prioritization, because I think this is one ministry, and listening to every answer that you've given us here, there's a lot of services, a lot of them, a lot of exciting services that have to be implemented, and one would be remiss not to want to acknowledge that almost all of them will require, financial capacity. How are you prioritizing ICT expenditure here? Which projects are fully funded? Where are the partnerships or donor support essential for implementation?
It's a very important and critical aspect of the whole ICT ecosystem, Nguni. We do need massive budgetary support, both from government and partners. We are working on the budget for the next financial year, and we are praying and hoping that the government of Eswatini will be able to support us in terms of the required budget, which for starters, it would be to say it is what we need to prevent the service interruptions that we've been going through the past few weeks. So yes, we do really need a massive budget support, because this points to lack of adequate infrastructure, the fundamentals in terms of infrastructure that we need to put in place, and the skills development, the platforms and the services. So all of those require funding. Then there is also the issue of cybersecurity. That one again is very important, very key. And like you were saying, the data protection, all those are key fundamentals for the development of the ICT industry in the country and the offering of services to the public. So really, we do need budgetary support, and the ministry has actually submitted quite a comprehensive budgetary request to the Ministry of Finance, and hopefully Parliament will be able to assist us so that we get adequate funding. There's also the issue of international partners that would come and help. Again, even in that aspect, we really do need, because our needs really may be a bit too big for government alone. So we do need external assistance to develop, and we are working with international partners, the like your UNDP or UNFPA, and the rest. ITU has been very helpful to us in a number of ways from way back 2009 when the ministry started. So we are working together, and yes, we do need financial support from government and other partners.
Now, PS, I did premise our conversation on progress checking, and indeed we've certainly made a lot of progress checking from our conversation. I've been advised that our time is up, so in under 1 minute, if you will, just give us some positive as well as negative, I know they call it tailwinds and headwinds that you've experienced. Of course, you did mention in the beginning of our conversation that system operations at the RSTP that need a couple of fixes there. So let's get into those administrative factors that need to be changed there, as well as, of course, we do want to acknowledge the progress that has been made on the other side, but also some of the conversations around broadband access when we look at the headwinds. So in 1 minute, headwinds, tailwinds.
It would be important for me to mention that RSTP is at the center of our digital transformation for all government services and for the wider ICT sector. Yes, so really putting things right, everything right at RSTP is key and a priority. And then the financing is key for all our programs. The capacity development, not just for our employees or our sector, but the whole nation at large. It is very, very important for that basic training or basic skills. That is why this program by UDA City is quite helpful for Eswatini. The issue of budget support and the issue of cybersecurity are areas that at the moment we would say, they are not on the upside as we speak, but we do want to get them right there up, and data protection as well. So, I can put it there, Mr. Ngamalo.
Thank you so much for your time. That is Prince Mshishimba, the Principal Secretary of the Ministry of ICT, just basically giving us a progress report of how they have been working as the ministry, implementing the many programs that we have just, discussed, as well as some of the challenges that continue to persist. But most importantly, the plans that are in place to remedy all those challenges that they experience. So a great interview, very insightful. Thank you for staying with us. We'll go for a net break now. We'll be back shortly to wrap the show up.
Kude lesinye isikhathi ngaphandle kwalesi.
Aba-researche, bafunze.
Being risky means ukuthi nalokuwa kwayo kulula.
Nathi kufuna sente ukukhicita nokusebenzisa.
Minutes before 8 o'clock, we've come to the end of our program. Quite an insightful interview with Prince Mshishimba Lapo.
That's Makulu Guya PS Bonga Ministry of ICT under the leadership of Minister Savannah Mazia, as well as everyone that is really working hard, the foot soldiers, the RSTP, every stakeholder, as well as the international partners that the PS mentioned. We're excited for sure to see everything falling into place with all the very grand ambitions that they have. Thank you for staying with us. We hope you enjoy the rest of your day. We'll see you again tomorrow. Goodbye.